What is good, people? Welcome back to another video on 8 Count. Today's video, I've got my picks for the UFC 277 main card, Pena versus Nunes. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Give me your picks in the comment section down below. I've already done a Fight Night London reaction if you want to go check that out, but otherwise, let's get straight into things. Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes, the rematch. What is going to happen? I mean, the first fight was a bit of a weird one, right? Because Nunes just didn't look like herself. She's kind of looked to try and bully Pena in the opening stages of the fight, but her gas tank just went like that. And, Pena was able to get to the fight to the ground later on after eating some shots, but also giving Nunes some back of her own. And, she's able to get the finish, but it wasn't really like a proper submission. It was more like Nunes just kind of quit and, really wasn't good luck. Are things going to change in the rematch? I think so. I just don't think, everything was disclosed to us about Nunes in that last fight. I just don't think she looked even 50% like herself normally. In this fight, I do expect things to change. I don't think Pena's going to be able to stay on her feet like she did last time and survive. I think Nunes is going to probably look to utilize other attacks as well. I'd like to see her use a bit more of a heavy kicking game. I think she could do a lot of damage there, whether that be targeting the body or the legs of Juliana Pena. I think she could do some body work as well with the punches. I'd like to see a bit more, pushing Pena backwards along the fence line, cutting off the fence. And I think that's definitely something I could expect in this fight. I just don't know if Pena's going to have the same sort of road available to her to win this one. I'm going to pick Nunes to win in a fight. I'm going to probably go in round 2. I feel like I'm really overlooking Pena, and I probably shouldn't because she does have a well-rounded skill set. It's just when I look at the fights, in her past, a previous opponent, you look at the Jermaine Durandamy fight where she loses via submission. I think it was guillotine, and look at the Valentina Shevchenko fight, and yes, these fights are a while ago, but there's something there which I just don't think she is, the champion in my head. And, she won it fair and square, but I do feel like she's going to lose this time. In the co-main event, we have Brandon Moreno taking on Kai Kara-France, and a bit of an interesting one for the interim flyweight title. I think this fight is going to be an interesting one for sure. I think I look at both fighters and I think you can give the striking edge probably to Kai Kara-France, but I think the main edge in the striking is probably on the power side. I think Moreno has got a lot of really good striking techniques. I think his jab is sensational in the flyweight division, and I do think it's going to be a hard fight for Kai Kara-France because, in my opinion, he only has one route to get this fight done, and that's on the feet, whereas Brandon Moreno can use his wrestling ability. He can, in the scrambles, he can find submissions, and I just find it hard to pick against him. I do think Kai Kara-France has got that power, and if he can land on Moreno, he can do damage. But I think what Moreno showed in the past is he's got a granite chin, and, does Kai Kara-France hit as hard as Deiveson Figueiredo? That's a question you're going to have to ask yourself, but I don't think that really is important. I think it's whether Kai Kara-France's striking ability can give him options to find the openings, and I definitely think that is the case. I think you can see a kicking game from him. I could see him probably using some sort of a leg kick sort of game where whether it's him looking to utilize an inside leg kick to kind of square up Brandon Moreno at times. I could see that happening. But I just think Moreno is kind of too wise now. He spent the time at the UFC, came back, and for me, I could see him getting this one done by submission. I do think he's going to have to be wary on the feet, and I think his best sort of, option on the feet is going to be to fight long, to kind of force Kai Kara-France to have to push the pace and, cut the distance and, try and come to Moreno. And I think if that happens, he's going to be able to find himself in a situation where he's able to get some sort of takedown and probably find his way to the back to get a rear naked choke finish here. So that's what I'm going to go with. The fight before, Derek Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich, I think is an interesting one. Pavlovich coming up, and he's undefeated since his fight against Alistair Overeem, and he's been putting on a display of power. He's been getting knockouts the majority of the time in the first round, and I could see this fight ending in the first round quite easily. I think Derek Lewis, obviously possesses the ability to do likewise. And for me, I think Pavlovich is an interesting one. On the feet, he's not necessarily the most fluid guy, but everything he does is hard. And, it's not going to be an easy fight for Derek Lewis. However, I'm going to pick the Black Beast here. I do think he has that experience more than Pavlovich, and I think he might even take his time a little bit here. I think, he is very athletic for his size, and I think Derek Lewis would be wise to use some of the kicks that he does have at his sort of in his arsenal. And I wouldn't like to see him doing the flashy shit, whether it be the jumping kicks and stuff like that. But I think looking at the leg kicks, I think that's a great way to kind of work Pavlovich. And I think your best shot to beat Pavlovich is probably going to be in that second or third round. And Derek Lewis has proven time and time again that his power does transfer into the later rounds. And for me, I just think Pavlovich is just, despite being good and winning fights, he just doesn't pass that eye test in a way. It's like, I do see Derek Lewis getting this one done, and I think it's a big win needed for Derek Lewis, especially after the knockout defeat to Tai Tuivasa. So yeah, I'd like to see him bounce back in this one. Sergey Pavlovich, obviously this would be a massive win and a massive scalp to take, but I'm just not sure he's going to be able to create the opportunities. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going to pick Derek Lewis here to win in the KO round 2. We move on to Alexander Pantoja versus Alex Perez. Alex Perez. I think Perez does offer Pantoja some real interesting sort of options here. I think Perez, obviously, he's got a really good kicking game, a lot of power and speed. You look early in his career against Formiga, was it, where he was able to get the leg kick TKO. And you also look at his wrestling ability. Pantoja, obviously, he's got a brilliant sort of grappling game, but I wonder if Perez can use that sort of top pressure to kind of shut that down, look to land heavy with some ground and pounds and kind of see out the fight here. I think Pantoja on the feet also offers threats for Perez, but I think despite Pantoja being a favourite here, I like Perez. If I was doing a bet, I would pick Perez. I think Pantoja win is definitely likely, but I could see this being quite a boring fight in which Perez gets the victory. I think on the feet, Pantoja definitely probably has a speed advantage. I'd give Perez the power advantage, but not really much of a striker. I think the majority of his best work does come with the leg kicks. I think the wrestling's going to be an interesting one in this fight. I think he can get Pantoja down. It's just whether he can deal with the threats of Pantoja off his back. I think he can, and I think he can look to land some blows and kind of see out the clock, and that's what I think is going to happen. Magomed Ankalaev taking on Anthony Smith. I do find this fight interesting. I think for Smith, this is more of a chance to get back to that title shot. You see, before he's fighting the likes of like Jimmy Crute and that, he's kind of fighting backwards. This is a guy who is ahead of him, but I like Smith's chances. I think if he can keep this fight on the feet, I think he's a better striker. I also think that his jiu-jitsu game is really good, but if he's on his back, I think Ankalaev can probably just kind of morph him and just lie on top and kind of see out the rounds and probably land some heavy ground and pound of his own. I think the key for Smith getting a win here is going to be keeping on the feet, and I think he does. I'm not as high on Ankalaev as a lot of people are. I think he does have flaws in his game, and I think Smith is really going to look to open him up and get a big win here, and see himself in the position now where he might even be able to get a number one contender sort of fight in the future. It's definitely going to be an interesting one. I think maybe if he wins this, I know they're looking at potentially doing Glover versus Yuri again. We could potentially see Smith versus Blachowicz for the number one contender fight, which I would be open for either man who wins this fight getting that sort of shot. I do think Smith is going to win here, though. I think on the feet he's going to make Magomed work a lot, and I see him getting a decision victory. So those are my picks for the main cards, guys. I think we do have an interesting sort of prelim cards. Drakkar Klose is always an interesting fight to watch. Alex Moreno as well against Matthew, the semi-truck Semmelsberger will be fun. Drew Dober back again, really good. On the prelim card, you know, we got Blood Diamond kicking off the night. We'll see if he can get a better start in this one than last time, where he kind of ran and tripped himself up against the fence. So it's going to be an interesting one, guys. Hope you enjoyed the fights on the weekend. Let me know your picks for the main card in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And I'll see you next time, guys. Peace out. Have a good weekend, all right? Peace.